top of the table.
Hello, 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 friends. We are back with yet another amazing discussion on top of the table. My name is Sheetal Sharma, and I am head of content with United We Care, your favorite mental well-being app. And joining me today is my favorite, Jaswandi Sahasrabuddhe, a guru on this podcast for all things regarding emotional well-being. Welcome, Jaswandi.
Hey everyone. Hi Sheetal, and thank you for calling me Guru, but I'm not though. So your voice sounds different today, Sheetal. I mean, there's so much of extra energy, and you are like all pepped up. And what is the reason behind it? Yeah.
Well, that is just one thing because today happens to be my favorite subject of discussion, which is real versus real relationships.
Oh, that's interesting. But Sheetal, when you said about real and real, I could think only about real and Instagram and social media and all the things that are happening with Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, and all the characters, hero and actresses, and a lot of things. But I'm sure this is more than just talking about actresses, or influencers, or people who are in the social media. So, am I right? Is it more than that in a relationship?
Absolutely correct, Jaswandi, and that is why I call you the guru because you really know what the subject is going to be about. So, well, when we say real relationships, it's definitely not about Hollywood and Bollywood and Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz or SRK and Kajol, but it is about people like you and me and the projection that we do when we are on a social media, or on Facebook or on Instagram or any of these platforms, and how we project that, and whether those roles that we play are actually the same as our real relationships. How does that sound now?
Ah, that sounds interesting. So, before I say anything, let's deep dive. And I want one question. I have not a question, but I have something that I have observed these days. And correct me if you have also done it or you have observed it. So, these days, people have been posting so many pictures and all sweet, sweet things about relationship on social media. And and that's when you see the post and you're like, oh, this is so cute, they're enjoying their lives, they're having the best of their time. And then I sit and think, are they actually enjoying, or is it just the mask, or just the way they're showing it to us? Because it, as far as I know, it's always confusing, okay, about people and their relationship status as to how good or bad it is. Like, we see it on Google, social media, or on other platforms, and we feel it is basically their insecurity that's speaking, or it's making them just tell us that, okay, my everything in my life is so good. So it is just they want to make things look good. So, even to certain extent, all of us, have sometimes tried hard to create a different perception of how and what we are doing, how we are having our life, how is our relation with our partner, with our family, or even with our friends.
I absolutely agree with you, Jaswandi, because somewhere I think that we are seeking that picture perfect romance that we have in our life, or a picture perfect family, that we have with us. And we keep projecting that even despite the fact that things might not be that normal, back home. But the thing is that when you look at pictures, like you rightly pointed out, that when you look at pictures of other couples, or you look at pictures of like maybe a family, and everyone seems so happy, so elated, so joyful, kind of having party together, or possibly having that perfect romantic dinner together, you feel so pressured to kind
So
of
true.
match that, right? I mean, you feel that, or otherwise it gives you that feeling that, is there something wrong in my life? How is their life so perfect? Why is my life not that perfect? And that comparison starts to kind of whirl into your mind, and sometimes then you also fake it. I think it's this vicious circle that you get caught in.
So yes, so Sheetal, nowadays people call us FOMO, right? I feel real relationships is about experiencing a FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh my God, people are doing all these things. People are like telling us how they happy they are. They're having such a nice time in their life, and then you start feeling, oh my god, am I the one who is left out? So do I need to show it this way? And that's where we start wearing masks, Sheetal. So I have been talking a lot about masks and faking it or creating a different perception, not just about yourself, about the people around you. And that is extremely toxic, and rather than toxic, I would say it's very exhausting, because all the time you have to wear that mask of everything in your life is good, when life cannot be perfect all the time, man. It, you need to go through ups and downs, and it's okay to be in that state, but still you want to make sure that your life is portrayed in the right way. Again, I'm saying portrayed because it is the way we are showing it, when the reality is completely different.
And Jaswandi, when you are creating this alternate reality for yourself, you know, I think when you come back to the real relationship, right? I think it hits you even harder, isn't it?
So true, because as I said, Sheetal, when you're wearing this mask, and consider, okay, you're wearing two masks, and you're wearing this mask when you're into the real world, and the other mask when you're in the real world. Now, imagine if you flip this masks once, it is going to be such a different, disastrous thing, because then you are not yourself, how you used to be when you were wearing the mask. So this creates a drift, this creates so much pressure, problems in your relationship, when there are two different realities that you are looking at.
And I think that the biggest problem, Jaswandi, is this idea that has been sold to us constantly, through romantic novels and films and other popular media about a relationship that kind of completes you. We always keep seeking for that person, and sometimes that relationship, which on the outside seems to be defining that idea in our very own minds.
Yes, I would say, Sheetal, at times we think of who will be my Prince Charming, looking at the Bollywood and Hollywood style of it, and you start feeling, is this what I'm getting is real? Like, and then, talking about perfect relationship is so difficult, because your image of a perfect relationship versus actually what comes to you is so different, and there's such a big disparity. So people ask me, what is a perfect relationship? How do I know that I have a perfect one? I would say first and the most important thing is there's nothing like a perfect relationship, because all of us are different. Come on, we are not people who are robots, who are just, we just take one thing and everyone is in the same, having the same traits. So there's no perfect relationship. However, I would say perfect relationship is when you actually live and let live in your life. It's basically you're making your partner have his own life, and you are having your own life, but you are mixing your lives together as and when you can. That builds a good combination, plus creates a nice balance in your relationship, is what I feel.
Absolutely. And I think that, the beauty of being together with another person is not whether everything kind of matches with each other or not, but the fact that you are two different people coming from two different backgrounds, and yet you find some common grounds on which you connect, and then you stay on together, right? And I think that, having difference of opinions or having a little bit of, quarrels, they are healthy in a way, because I think that they lead you to make your relationships much stronger.
Yes, and Sheetal, here we get to actually understanding what are the traits that can help you. Okay, traits, or I would say, what are the aspects, factors that can help you to make your or strengthen your relationship. As I might not say it as perfect relationship, but strengthen your relationship. So the first one would be, Sheetal, that in many relations we are lacking on this is giving space to each other. It's not just the partners, but also in terms of friends, you need to give space to each other, because if you are just behind their back for something, it is very irritating. So you need to have space. Okay, this is something that I'm going to do, this is something that you are going to do, and then we will spend our time. So you have things to do on your own, you're giving space to you yourself as well as your partner. Do you agree, Sheetal, this will help?
Absolutely, Jaswandi, and boundaries are so important. While they are the most undermined, things that are basically being talked about when you talk about relationships, because somewhere you feel that when you are married to someone or you're dating someone, right? The idea that is sold to us is that the boundaries blur. I mean, you know everything about each other. Not necessarily. I think that boundaries need to be respected for each other. Now, talking about a very recent example, and I came across this video of Angelina Jolie and Billy Thornton, who were married, back in the early 2000s, and they got separated, after a few years of marriage. And the reason was that Billy felt that Angelina was constantly, infringing his space. Okay. Now, while the fact that both of them are married, but there were a lot of video clips that I saw of the couple where Angelina Jolie kept on kissing Billy while Billy was giving an interview. Now, that itself seems that, there is something off about the relationship. I don't know. I don't know if other people would call it love, but I certainly won't.
And Sheetal, yes, imagine, right, when you are at a certain point and you want to have your space, and people just come in and take your entire space and like leave you with the thing of, oof, I don't want you. And that feeling, makes your relationship and breaks your relationship. So I would say that in boundaries in a relationship is like when you help the person figure out where one person ends and other person starts. So that is where I would say that's what is boundary. And I believe it is very, very important to set boundaries in any relationship, not just romantic relationships, but also in terms of your friends. You need to know what till what level can you take your friendship to, and what is the end of it, and that's where the other person can take it over from there. So setting boundaries is very, very important. Yes, you rightly said that.
So, for some of us, Jaswandi, who might be very new to the concept of boundaries, especially in close relationships, can you give us an example to tell us what healthy boundaries look like?
So, Sheetal, I would say when we talk about boundaries, it is based, for example, I'll not give you an example of a romantic relationship, because there might be our listeners who are not into romantic relationships and they are into with their friends and they want to set up boundaries. So, when we talk about boundaries, it is basically understanding that, okay, this is where my friend can talk, this is what my friend can talk about, or this is a suggestion or opinion he can give. So boundaries, I feel, are grounded based on given suggestions and taking opinion. At times, people come to us and tell, okay, this is what you should be doing. On the other hand, a relationship with good boundaries will have this thing, okay, this is what I suggest you can do because this can help you in XYZ manner. So when you have giving you when you're giving a suggestion rather than in like putting everything on the person and saying, okay, this is what you need to do, is when you are actually your relationship has good boundaries and you have good relationship because it is built on very strong emotion rather than just on fact that, okay, I can dominate this person at this stage, or I can rule this person, or I can tell I when I tell this person XYZ thing, he or she does it. So as I said, Sheetal, before, that giving space and creating boundaries go hand in hand, because when you give space and mark these boundaries, and is when the person understands, okay, this is my limit and she or he can listen only to this extent.
So that brings me to another example from my own life, Jaswandi. And I have a very close friend, who many, many years before this today, she would constantly act like my spokesperson. Okay.
Hmm.
So if anyone would ask questions from me, she would be the one to retort. She would be the one to answer. So obviously there was some boundary that was lacking there. Eventually, over a period of time, I had to make sure that I told her that, I do not like this behavior, or I do not like her answering on my behalf because it is infringing into my space somewhere. So it took a while for her to understand, and I really cherish the relationship and the friendship that we have. So obviously I didn't want to just kind of that be let that be the cause of our drifting apart, but we worked through it. And I think that is what we need to do with all our relationships, right? not necessary that the other person who is with you, be it your partner, be it your lover, be it your husband, your sibling, or anyone, they might not understand the concept of boundary. But if you do, I think you need to put a stop and tell them that, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and I would need a little bit of space here, right? I think that that could be a workable way of solving this problem, right?
Yes, so Sheetal, I would say rather than people not knowing it, I would say people are not consciously aware about it. Because if you talk about boundaries, we are never taught about boundaries, or how can you develop or establish the boundaries. It is basically you yourself realize that okay, this is what I'm comfortable in. This is what I'm not comfortable in. So when a person who is your partner, sister, friend, or anyone does not understand boundaries, it is important that you set these boundaries together. And setting boundaries is an easy way to actually building your relationship, is what I feel.
And also, just one thing, I think we as Indians have always been asked to adjust to everything, right? Right from the bus seat to a metro seat, or to any other place, or when guests come over to a house, we've been asked to adjust. And that somewhere, kind of pushes ourselves and our needs much behind, therefore kind of failing on that concept of boundaries completely.
Yes, and I would say, Sheetal, rather than compromise, we were always told that okay, rather than adjusting, we were always told to compromise on things, because it is like this is what you're supposed to do, and that's when we don't realize the importance of boundaries. Because if I want to do it, irrespective of who is telling me, it is my choice and it is my decision that I'm taking. So as you rightly said, setting boundaries really helps to actually strengthen and make the person understand okay, that now I'm sure, Sheetal, when you spoke to your friend about it, now your relationship as compared to your relationship before you set up the boundary will be very different, right?
Yes, yes, of course it is. And a much healthier one, I must say, Jaswandi.
And that's nice. See, because if you would have just thought okay, I'm not setting up the boundary, she might feel bad, she might feel like I'm purposely doing it, you might not have had a relationship that you have currently.
True. Agree with you 100%.
So I would say yes, boundaries are one aspect to actually building real relationships rather than building the real relationships.
When we talk about that concept of true love, now we are constantly also sold this idea about that risky passionate love, and all of that, especially in the films and all these novels that are written sometimes, which are extremely passionate in their way. Do you think that is how real relationships are? Because I'm always confused about it.
I I wouldn't say. See, again, I'm stating the same thing. True love comes when you have emotions, feelings attached to it. It might look different for every one of us, right? It might, for example, for you, it might look like all lovey-dovey and all good things that are happening in your life. But in my case, it might look like having a nice conversation with my partner. So a true love is more grounded, it is more predictable, and I would say you feel so safe when you are with that person. And as I said, that person might not be a romantic partner, right? It can be anyone, it can be a colleague, it can be a friend. Or nowadays, Sheetal, I'm sure people talk about having close relationship with their pet. And why is that so? It is because you feel safe with them. You know that this relationship is going to be fruitful, because you know this relationship is real, right? It doesn't leave you in a space of guessing, okay, how, I don't know what is going to happen, what will happen next. And that anticipatory anxiety does not peep in when you have true love. So I would say, even if you're talking about romantic relationships, true love, what I define true love, is where you are most comfortable, where you feel most secure and safe, when you know you can be yourself.
Yes, just one thing. And but one constant pressure that I think everyone feels is that you need to be all lovey-dovey all the time, with your partner. Okay, or you need to be very very soft spoken and kind with your parents or your parents-in-law or anyone that in your family. If you're not, then there's definitely something wrong with your relationship. Is that true?
Again, this is like, actually, this is a social pressure, Sheetal. It is the pressure that the society puts on us, that okay, an ideal relationship should be A, B, C, and D. However, as I said, the ideal relationship need not be lovey-dovey. It need not be that you're showing your love off in front of everyone. It can be that you really love each other genuinely, and you're expressing it in some other way. But being kind is what makes a good relationship, is what I feel, Sheetal. Yes, talking to your partner in a kind way can really help you strengthen your relationship. And a healthy relationship, as I kept saying from the start of this episode, is that it will involve, yes, there will be a lot of fights, there will be arguments, there will be one, you will feel vulnerable, but the essence should be clear and transparent, honest communication. Because when you are having a clear communication with your partner, it becomes very easy to set boundaries, to give space, to take opinions, to give suggestions, and also there is no judgment, right? And you develop a good sense of trust. I have always thought, Sheetal, when we talk about relationships, as I have spoken in previous episodes as well, the most important factor is your previous experiences. And we need to know the fact that the past was past. It is important to be in present rather than being in future or being in the past. So your past relationships should, again, I'm saying, should not affect your current relationships. Do you agree to this, Sheetal?
I think a lot of mindfulness will help there.
So true, so true. And see, if think about it, right? If your past relationships were successful, you might not have been here. So consider your past relationships like a stepping stone for whatever your current relationship is.
True, Jaswanti, and I think there is so much learning that you can take, even from your past relationships, not just about how to manage a relationship, but also about you yourself. You know, at the end of it, it's almost this journey that you are trying to take, where you are also, constantly inventing these new things about yourself. And that is what truly life is, isn't it?
So true. And see, Sheetal, life is not always going to be rosy and every good thing happening. As I said, you need to have roller coaster in your life as well, because otherwise, how will you have fun? And these days, I'm sure people are talking about feeling the adventure, the adrenaline rush. If you're not having setbacks, how are you going to get this adrenaline rush? Sheetal. So, I would say when we talk about a real relationship and a real relationship, we need to have a clear distinction about it. We need to know, okay, yes, I want to show the world a certain image. However, I should be knowing what is the reality. Because if I don't know that, I'll be stuck in the real world, which is obviously not my real world.
Absolutely. And, thank you so much, Jaswandi, for all this information. I think it's really, really helpful. So, coming back and wrapping up everything, when we talk about a real, real relationship and a true love in every form, we would say that, it is something which involves emotional vulnerability, which has clear communication, and also which kind of works through childhood trauma, right? I mean, you should be able to talk to each other irrespective of what kind of trauma you've been through as a child. You can talk about that with each other, and I think that kind of builds a beautiful relationship. And add a little bit of boundaries to it, and there it is, a picture perfect one. It might not be as rosy and lovey-dovey as you see it in the movies, but they're movies after all, they're not real, right? So we need to build a real relationship, and we have to remember that a real relationship is not a fairy tale, but the one where you see each other as humans, you're kind to each other, and you get to be yourself without feeling rejected. Right, Jaswandi?
Yes, Sheetal. And this, I guess, this last part of what you said, that it's not a fairy tale and it's basically you accepting each other as humans, is something, I guess, Sheetal, I'm going to take away from today's episode for sure.
Thank you so much, Jaswandi. It was beautiful talking to you as always, and you would continue to be our guru in the following episodes as well. So, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining in. We'll be back again next time round.